have something like DO, organic matter, you have BOD, and then you have other nutrients. We measure all these stuff. So the nutrients also, you have them. So you can then separate the issues of galamsey from, for example, waste disposal, because of the parameters that we measure. So in case of the galamsey, the problem is always with turbidity.
Okay.
The depth in the river. So you can even have very good quality in terms of, for example, BOD or DO, organic matter. It will all fit into the accepted level. But when it comes to the turbidity, which is basically the sand and all the dirt that has been washed into the river, then that one goes very high. So that is how you are able to separate the cause of the water pollution.
Okay. Now, I've been reading a research which you conducted. You talk about communities in the southwestern river systems already under water stress, and in the communities in the coastal river system, you say they are experiencing absolute scarcity. Now, we know, for instance, that the UN has a report that indicates that by 2020, 5 billion of the world's population could face water shortage, and that's the next level of conflict will become, a conflict over water. In Ghana, we know the former Lands and Natural Resources Minister, John Peter Meru, in 2018 talked about how we're likely to start importing water by 2030, I beg your pardon. If you look at the current quality of our water bodies, would you say that within the medium to long term, say in 10 years' time, Ghana could be faced with the challenge of having to resort to water importation or scarcity of water?
Already, I think the scarcity issue already happening. Already happening in certain areas. The water stress issues already happening in certain areas.
Tell us more about the water stress and the scarcity issues.
Come again.
Tell us more about the water stress issues and the scarcity issues.
So normally what we try to do is you calculate the water availability per capita, that is per person. So water comes in the form of a volume, so meter cube per person. So you calculate the available water within a particular space, and then you also divide by the population of that area. So it comes up with a value. So that will give you the water availability. So when you do that, there are certain parameters or certain limits that we use. So we are using an index that somebody has developed. And what we are saying is that when you have the available water per capita, that is per person, falls below 1,700 meter cube, then you are talking about water stress. Water stress. This is per annum.
Okay.
So per annum. So water stress. If it falls below 1,000 meter cube per annum, you are talking about water scarcity. And then below 500 meter cube, absolute scarcity. So when we looked at, over in the south coastal areas, we don't have a lot of rain. We don't have a lot of rain. So in that area, from the calculations and the projections that were made for the coastal area, we were talking about water availability of 277 around this time, that is 2020, which is below 500. So that is absolute scarcity. That's why we have a lot of people not getting enough water. It doesn't mean that everybody is that, but the average, you calculate it over a period. So the whole population, the whole water available, and then we say that averagely everybody in that sense or the area is experiencing water scarcity. So if it's more than 1,700, then the water available is enough for people. So that is how the stress thing is happening. So what happens is that sometimes you have the water is available, but you cannot use that. because of the bad quality. If you are not able to treat the water to make it available, then already you are in the stress, and sometimes you are even in scarcity. That's why these days people in areas, especially in the mining areas, are crying that they can't get water. The water is there all right, but the quality is such that it cannot be used for the purpose that they want it for. Domestic use, cooking, for drinking, for doing all what they needed to do. Sometimes even the fish that used to be in these waters are not there anymore because they cannot live in that condition. There are a lot of other microorganisms that are already dead. They cannot live in those conditions because of the pollution that has happened. So when you are doing water health, for example, of a river, there are a lot of things that go into place. You have to look at all the planktons, micro organisms, and then the big and small fishes and all that.
Okay.
You look at the availability, and then you use that to calculate the quality or the health of the river system. So when you find that there are certain organisms that are not there, it means that they are already off that scale. They cannot live there. So then it means that the quality at that level is bad. There are certain big fishes that can live in there. But when you get to a certain point, those big fishes are also moved up because they can also not live there. So then the stress is there. Even though you have the water, you still can't use it. So then you are already in the stress and getting into scarcity and all that.
Okay. So let's look at, the current situation and how long it would last us. So there's been lots of concerns. I've given you the 2050 figure. I've talked about a prediction, or maybe a projection, that by 2030, if care is not taken, we may have to import water. As it stands now, based on the quality of our water bodies, what would you say would be the duration by which, if we continue like this, we are likely to face water shortage or maybe total scarcity of water?
I haven't done the actual projections as it is. And we also, over the past periods, we have realized that the issue of pollution goes on and off. It goes on, and now there's a big cry. Everybody is shouting, everybody's shouting. So most of these people will then go and hide somewhere. So you will see that within the next few months, things will improve. So when things start getting improving, you realize that then you can make good progress. So the projections are such that if you look at the data, you see that it goes on and then it comes off. It goes on, then it comes off. But what we are doing right now, if we don't arrest the situation and we allow these things to happen, I don't see beyond the 2020 thing, because the water... You don't see beyond what, the
2030 or...
2030 issue that we're talking about. Even though there's rain comes in all the time. We are looking at climate change. We are not getting the rains as we used to get before. So even the rains that we are getting, look around this time, it's raining in other places. Over here in Accra and other places, it hardly rains. And we are already in the end of April. Previously, April is part of the rainy season. Now it's not like that. So we are not getting enough rains, which is supposed to calm down and renew the water, push it down the depth, right? And then getting new source of water. But if you are not getting that enough, and what is already there is also being polluted, then obviously we are moving out of the available water system. Very soon, as I said, I don't see beyond the 20, if we keep going what we are doing now. That's why it's very important for all of us to be concerned, because if you are not living in that area and you think that it will not affect you, it will really affect you because very soon you realize that we may be getting water from pond. But look at the Takoradi, Cape Coast, those who are depending on the southwestern river systems. It means that they are all going to be cut off. There are times that they have to, shut these plants because of obvious serious pollution that is happening there. So it's a very big concern for all of us, and I think that as a country, we have to put our legs. I mean, you should understand what we are looking for and what we want. And if you want something so bad, we do everything to be able to get what we want. But the fight has been on. If you look at the history, it has been on, off, on, off, on, off. I don't know whether it has to do with our politics or whatever, but it's not been very good.
We'll come to the fight. We'll come to the fight itself and this on off that you talk about, how it affects our water bodies and how we can ensure that we have clean water bodies over a long period of time. In fact, a situation where we don't have to go back to what we've had in the past again. Now, my guest, Dr. Anthony Duah, who's Senior Research Scientist and Head of Groundwater at the Water Research Institute of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. We'll go for some few messages. Stay with us. When we return, we'll get into analyzing or assessing our fight over the period against illegal mining. All right, so welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. I'm Winston, and this evening we're focusing on the quality of water bodies in this country. Dr. Anthony Duah, who is Senior Research Scientist and Head of Groundwater of the Water Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, is our guest. He's joined us via Zoom. So let's look at, in cleaning or in reaching the appropriate quality. The levels that we are now. If we're to stop polluting the water bodies, we are to stop, for instance, engaging in, illegal mining on these water bodies, how long would it take us before we're able to have that quality that you could say, okay, we're good and we don't have enough problem?
My own estimation, I looked at the state that we have now. If we stop the activities of galamsey, like I said earlier on, in rainy season, some of the water also wash from the ground, that is at the shores of the river, and also overlap over the whole basin. So part of the sand and gravel and all the dirt will move into the river. But those ones, they come and then they move straight away. With rains coming in, the water will get renewed. Normally, within a period of, let's say, if nothing is, all these things are not being in a period of, let's say, 5 years or so, you can even get your water clean. Now, I was reading this issue from the University of Mines and Technology, who have also developed technique to clean the water within a shorter period. So they will move along there and put certain chemicals in it so that it will, coagulate the dirt. And just like you have in certain places where they don't have very good water, the water gets dirty, they put the water in a bowl, then they put alum, alum in it, and it will just push every dirt to the base of the basin so that you can get it done. So there are things that can be done to speed it up. But the problem is that if you speed it up knowing that, you are not polluting the water further on, if you are able to stop that, then you know that, okay, where we are now, what we've got to do is to get our waters clean. Then you can aim at a faster rate, do whatever you need to do to get it done. But if the pollution keeps coming, so at the end of the day, you are cleaning and somebody is also washing something upstream, then it means that whatever you are doing is also being destroyed, and then you are not getting anywhere. So that is the first thing, is to try to get these activities curtailed as much as possible. Then we can think about how to get to where we want to be. But there are issues and there are also solutions that are coming up that can speed up the cleaning of our water systems.
I'm interested in Yes, I'm interested in the cleaning of our water systems because I've heard between 3 to 6 months, if we stop illegal mining, we could have water.
It depends on the area you are. You know that they are all not the same.
Okay.
Basically,
and I've actually had 1 month
at every place.
And you are telling us about 5 years. So
Yeah, because
help us understand. Yes, I mean these I mean dates 1 month, 3 to 6 months, and then we're told you are telling us 5 years. Yes, help us so we can know. For instance,
yes. My point. I don't know who is getting the 2 or 3, 6 months. What I'm saying is that you need the water to flow away, right?
Yeah.
You should have rain. Okay, you should have rain. Some of the waters are fed by springs and all the other things, so they are coming from spring sources, water that is coming over the upstream. But when you don't have that, you need rain to speed it up. So if for a period of time you don't have any rain, nothing's going to happen. The water is going to be there. It will go to move by itself. Okay, it's moving on its own, and these debts, they come in different particles. Different sizes, particle sizes. Some of them are very slow. Some of them are the bigger ones. They also move at their own pace. So it depends on where you are. It depends on what method you are using. But if you just sit down and don't do anything and you allow it to go, I don't see how that is going to happen in 3 months. Looking at the extent that we have, even at the time that we stopped the galamsey, we know at the period in 2017. We had a ban.
Yeah.
And during the ban, the ban went on for about a year, a little more than a year. And if you look at the records from that, you will see that even though most people adhere to the ban, it means that there was not very much, even though some were still happening. We know that some were still happening in certain forest areas. But the major rivers and the courses of the rivers were devoid of these things. And we all know that during that period, nobody can tell me that he saw any water that was clear as we have always wanted. But there was no galamsey going on, and in most of the areas.
Well, but we saw. I mean, we saw improvements. You've told us, for instance, Dr. Duah, you've told us, for instance, that the brim around Osino in 2019, the turbidity level was around 80. That's not a very bad one, considering that
we are looking at 5.
Yes, I know, but considering that we're looking at a situation of, 1,590 now, if we at a point had 80, that was a massive improvement, wasn't it?
Exactly. That was a very, very big improvement. So what I'm saying is that, and you ask yourself, how long did it take to get to that? The analysis that we do for WRC, I think it's twice in a year. So I think February and then July. So February at the end of the dry season, then July also end of the first rainy season. So we do that, and then so we see the effect that comes. So it depends on the period. For example, during the rain times, as I said, the rains are also very good cleaning system. It helps to clean the system. Okay. And then in the dry period, you don't have the rains. So what you have is the water itself and a few other that is coming from underground, the springs and the other water sources. So you look at all these things. When you have a big issue like pollution, moving from a very high level, like any other thing, to low level can be very fast. But when you get to a point, for example, between the time that you're moving from, say, 1,000 to 80 can be done in a very short time. But between, let's say, 80 to 40 can take you about 3 times the time. And that is how it goes. It's not something that flows, in that sense. So you realize that when you get to a point where you have to make it better, it becomes difficult to do that. And that is how most of these systems work.
Monday.
So we have to look at all those things.
Now, Monday or Tuesday, I think it was on Tuesday when we spoke to Stanley Mate, of the Ghana Water Company Limited. He told us that at the Chibi plant, the turbidity level was 3,200. That was the turbidity level. And if you get to the Duah plant, for instance, you're looking at turbidity levels of 3,500. So the situation now is, worse than it was in 2020. But
exactly.
So help me understand the University of Mine and Technology technique, if you know it. Is there any technique that could ensure that in about a month or 2 or 3, we're able to clean the water bodies?
I haven't had any discussion with them, even though I know most of the people who are there. I haven't had any discussion with them. I just read about a report when the minister went to the Western region and he engaged them. And they told the minister that if they are able to engage them and help them, they have done these things experimentally, and then they can upscale so that it can get to the river. And they from what they're talking, I know they can do that, because these are areas, and these are people who have worked. They are in Takwa, and they've been there, and they know how the situation is there. So when they talk, I really know what they are talking. They really know what they are talking about. So they could be able to tell us exactly, how long to take. What they talk about is having a boat that moves along the river. So you drop certain chemicals. Like I said, the water, if you allow, that's what I'm saying, if you just leave it for it to go, some of them are very light. They will stay in the water for a long time. The dirt, they come in different particle sizes. So some of them are just so light, they cannot drop. Some of them are big. And when they are a little heavier, they will drop from the river. So they will just settle at the base of the river, or they move along. So they have this chemical that they can put in there. I'm not very conversant with exactly what the technology is like, but they will move and drop them in the water. Then it will force the particles to move from the water, just like coagulation. Where I said that you put the alum in dirty water and then it brings all the dirt out. So it's a similar exercise. And then once that, you mean that you apply it along the river as you go. So it will just move along here. And then whilst you are going, you are applying it, and then it will just drop the dirt. So within a very short time.
Which will be better? Which will be better? I mean, do we actually go according to allowing it to happen naturally, or you believe we should just go ahead with the technique and maybe drop a few things in it to ensure that they're clean? Which will be better for you?
Everybody wants it to be cleaned faster. And I'm very sure that what they are talking about is something that will not harm us or harm the river itself, because obviously we know that this is a river that people consume. So they won't put anything that will hurt anybody in terms of health. So if we have the system and the technique that can make these things clean faster, why don't we go for it? Because we will not allow the water to clean itself. As I said, it's not going to be now, because some of these things are so severe that it will take a long time to get these things done. And then how long can we wait for people that need water in these areas to get water?
Okay.
So now people are making all the noise. They can't drink. You have to buy sachet water. You have to buy this. How many can afford that? So if we can help to make it faster, why don't we take one river and then commission the universities to look, we give you this amount of money, take this river, and then let's apply this thing here, because it's been done experimentally. It's not been upscaled to the field. And then we can all judge from there. If that's going to work, then we move to the others, and then we make sure that these things are done.
Great. Let's look at our fight orders as well. And here we're looking at solutions, as you've talked about. If we're able to stop it, or we could actually use a technique that the University of Mine and Technology is suggesting. But let's look at this fight as we've had it. And you've been researching. You've talked about how people engaging in illegal mining. Even before we started large-scale mining. So there's something that has been happening in this country all as well. What must we do right in ensuring that we don't have to go back? Because in 2008, former President J. Kufuor, he tried it. Under the NDC regime in 2013, it was tried. 2017, we tried it. We're back 2021 trying it again. How do we ensure that we don't have to come back again talking about these same issues again?
I think the first thing is that we just take the politics out of this thing. We have to take the politics out of this thing, because I remember very well during the election time, when people are talking about cleaning, other people are talking about, we will restore people's, livelihood, and people who are jailed may be set free and all that. So you realize that then the people will see that, okay, right, this side, if I'm here, I'm sure I'll get this job to continue. And then if I'm here, maybe I may not have the chance to do that. So then, we know the political landscape. It keeps changing from one to the other, especially with the two main political parties. So if you have a national issue, a national policy devoid of the politics, then we know that this is what we all want to do. So this is how we go about it. We all put our heads together, and then we take a pause. So nobody is going to tell anybody that, look, these people are destroying your livelihood. Give us a chance for us to do and bring us, and then we can help you do that. So at the end of the day, we decide that this is what everybody is put his hand to work. So we know whether you change the government or nothing is going to change. I mean, we are going to be pulled out of the field. Then obviously you are heading towards towards a solution, so that we can have a concrete aim, and we all will push towards that. But we shouldn't have the situation where one side is saying this, another side is saying that. Then we are divided front, and when we are divided our front, we realize that our fight will not go anywhere. So first of all, as I said, let's try as much as possible as a country see that water is a need. Water is a need. There's a necessity. That's why we have, water. People, you can't deny, even somebody hasn't had money, he cannot deny him water. So we have the lifeline where basically it's absolutely free or something like that. So we need to be sure that we are all fighting the same cause. And then make sure that those who are talking also fighting the cause, they really fighting the cause. Because sometimes, we can talk and talk and talk. When you get to the field, realize that this is not the same. The people who are doing these things, all the people in the communities that are doing it, they have people that they sell the gold to. Those people they don't export gold. They don't come to bring and sell to IPMC or
PMMC.
People. But
PMMC.
You have people who sponsor these people. So when you get the gold, you bring it to them, and then they pay you. So these are the people that they are not in the field there. Okay. But they are pushing the people who are doing the work, so that when you get the gold, you bring it to them, and then they sell. So at the end of the day, if you are fighting, we should make sure that all these people are identified. And then we are able to, otherwise, you only go and catch the people who are in the field, and then you move them away. By the end of the day, they are not the main people who are.
So we should actually target the main people behind all of this. We should ensure that we get those who are the financiers, those who are putting these together. Well, thank you very, very much, Dr. Anthony Duah, for joining us this evening. We're grateful that you made time to speak to us on this all-important issue. Thank you very much. That'll be all from us this evening on the JoyNews channel.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you once again. This has been Upfront. My name is Winston. I'm on behalf of the team. Thank you so much for being part of us. Coming up shortly is the JoyNews Prime. Keep watching the JoyNews channel. Have a lovely evening.